But the problem with Jordan Peterson with society today is that to believe in Jordan Peterson's theory, you can't do that and stay sane if you're not a religious person. You can't live as though life is pain, life is suffering, all that we know is pain, and then not believe that it's for a reason.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you can't do both. That's what my brother does sometimes. He loves Jordan Peterson, but he's not so sure about religion. And that causes him to think, life is pain, why do we do it? And I'm like, if you think about it that way, I don't know. And it's funny now because I think that as much as he helps people who are confused about religion and identity, he also presents a problem in sharing the theories that he does share because people aren't ready for them, you know?
Yeah. He's really interesting. There's only one thing that I've always kind of been critical of him of. He may have answered this. I haven't listened to him in like a year because a year ago I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I've heard most of what he's got to say. But the one thing, and this has to do with religion, he was always, back when I would watch him, he always seemed to avoid the question when it particularly came to Christianity, which was like, was Jesus like actually like, was he God? Like was like, do you actually believe in God, or do you believe in like some like you know, he was very, I remember he was asked like, do you believe that Jesus like resurrected from the dead? Do you think that God like really is a metaphysical reality and stuff? And he was kind of like, I don't really want to answer that, basically.
Well, he does do that a little bit. I definitely agree with that. He avoids the question a bit, but he also says that people can't believe in something if they act as if they don't. So he says that he acts as if he believes in Jesus as much as he can. Yeah. But the fact that sometimes he doesn't means that maybe he doesn't believe in Jesus.
Yeah. And I've always been a little bit skeptical of him, only in that, like, I think perhaps the reason he doesn't answer that question, because any other person either says
yes or no.
And he acts like it's way more complicated than that.
Well, it is.
Well, but like, as far as like a question of like, nobody knows for sure that this stuff is real. Like, as far as like, say, like the historical events, like nobody knows for sure. Nobody was there whenever Jesus was walking around. No, I mean, nobody knows for a fact that like he was who he said he was.
Nobody
or if he
knows him.
Yeah. But there are plenty of people that can say, well, I believe that he was who he said he was.
But how much can you believe something that you can't ever prove is true?
Well, I know, but that's one of those things where it's like, I mean, that's where the whole idea of faith comes in, where like you stack up a certain number of things, and here's like the ledge you've got to get to, but you've stacked up a number of things here, and you just have to jump there. I mean, that's where, I mean, because otherwise the whole concept of faith is useless.
Well, yeah, because faith then just becomes knowledge. But it's interesting to me because it's just like the concept, like maybe my family hates me and they're secretly planning my murder and they're just acting like they love me. I could live my whole life thinking that and recognizing it as a possibility and pretending as if it's true. But what kind of life would I live? There are some things that you just have to act as if you believe that they're true so that you can live a minimally decent life. And maybe that's just one of those things. Maybe religion is one of those things that we need, even if we don't know if it's true, even if we can't believe in everything about it, even if we have our doubts and it doesn't always seem like the right answer, we question it, whatever it might be. Maybe we need to believe that it's true because to live a minimally decent life, you have to.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where, but as far as like Jordan Peterson is concerned, he's always asked, like, do you believe? But he acts like it's a question of, do I know? And so he kind of, like, dodges it. And it's just like, dude, what is your opinion? That's what
Well, to believe and to know is so different.
Well, I know. But, like, that's the point, though. Like, they're not asking him, prove it. Like, do you know for sure? They're asking him, what's your opinion? Like,
but if he's on tape saying that...
Well, I know.
It's over.
I know, but that's
Like,
that's the problem with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't. That's the one thing I've always been like. So is he trying to toe the line between the religious and non-religious audience so that he keeps them?
Well, in the
you
grand
know?
scheme of things, how much does it matter what Jordan Peterson thinks about religion?
Well, I mean, he has a very big.
His platform.
I mean, but I mean, he's the kind of guy who, it's what it is it's frustrating whenever you see somebody who clearly is withholding
An opinion that they have.
because they're afraid that they might lose their audience or something. That's what it seems like. Like it's like an element of like, oh, well, you're kind of being a coward now, which is not. And
I understand it. I understand
Yeah.
it to an extent, but at the same time, I also think that if I shared every opinion that I have, nobody would talk to me.
Well,
And
yeah,
there's
but-
an element to your own identity that you feel like you should share with people that is your own personal. It's your own agenda. You don't have to share every part about yourself. Even when people ask you questions, that you don't have to answer those.
I fully acknowledge that, but it's like I remember he was asked in an interview by an atheist, like, do you believe in miracles? Do you believe that Jesus walked on water? And Jordan Peterson said, he like quoted the verse in the Bible where it says, "Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God's." And he said, the separation of church and state, that's a miracle right there. And I went, clearly she wasn't asking about a miracle in the scheme of ideas. She was asking about physical miracles,
Yes.
and you deliberately dodged the question. That's just the one thing that I've always been like, well, come on, guy.
Yeah.
But he's interesting, and like his whole, his commentary on suffering is, it's very similar to what this book is, where it's like,
It's
I mean,
everywhere, but deal with it.
yeah, it's everywhere, and you've got to deal with it. And by you dealing with it, that's how you find out who you are. And that's how you find out what does matter and what your meaning actually is.
Yeah.
Because no one ever learns anything from sitting around being comfortable.
You learn by sitting around and being uncomfortable.